Hi everyone, welcome to Wild Stories. Here today we're with Agnieszka Kaczmarz and we're gonna make some tincture and syrup, and we're just about to go and get the ingredients.
Here we have our first plant, Plantain, Plantain lanceolata. You can recognize this plant by the parallel veins in the leaves, and when it goes to flower, it's got these nice rat tails with a little fluffy ball on the end. This plant is fantastic. It has two main properties. It's got a lot of mucilage, so it's soothing for all your membranes, mucous membranes, and it also has a compound called allantoin, which is a cell proliferate, and so it helps healing. So this is excellent for syrup, so we'll collect some of that. Here we have our next plant, Paddy's lucerne, Cedar rumbifolia. It's a great plant, and we pulled this one out by the roots. And you know you've got the right plant because it's really hard to get out. So it's best to get it after the rain. There we go, lovely root. The root is what we'll use, full of mucilage. So it's very, very soothing for those raw mucous membranes during a cough. Here we have our next plant, horehound, Maribdum vulgare. It's an excellent cough remedy. It's an expectorant, so it helps all that yucky phlegm come up and be expelled, and it also helps to suppress the cough reflex. It's been introduced into Australia as a medicinal plant, and it's gone a bit feral, particularly on pasture land. It's very bitter, so cattle won't touch it, and it's not very popular with the farmers, but an excellent cough remedy. So we'll definitely put that in our syrup. Here we are. We have our plants that we have collected. What we're going to do now is sort them through. So we have the horehound, an excellent syrup plant. We have the plantain, and then we have the Paddy's lucerne. So we'll use just the roots of the Paddy's lucerne for our cough syrup. I'm going to weigh all the plants that we have collected, so I know approximately how many we have. So once we know approximately how much plant matter we have, about 50 grams perhaps, or 60 grams, we'll put this into a pot, chop the roots nice and fine, and for that amount we will add about 400 mils of water. We'll bring the water just to a gentle roll, and then simmer till the water volume is reduced by about a half. Okay, so our brew for the cough syrup has reduced by about a half, I think. So what we'll do now, we need to strain the plant material from the water. I have a measuring cup and a funnel, and some muslin cloth or tea towel works just as well. What we need to do is we need to squeeze all the goodness out of that plant material. As much liquid as you can, because it's most concentrated within the plant. Okay, here's our infusion for our syrup, and we have about just a little over 200 mils. And for 200 mils of the infusion for our cough syrup, we're going to need about 425 to 450 grams of sugar. So just a little over 1 to 2 in ratio. Heat it up so that all the sugar dissolves. You don't want to boil it, just heat it up well so that all the sugar dissolves. So the sugar's dissolved. I've let the mixture cool a little bit, and we pour our syrup into a jar. Cover it. And the last thing we need to do is make the label. Now on the label you need to write what the preparation is, in this case a cough syrup, what plants you have used. So in this case we've used plantain, we've used horehound and Paddy's lucerne, and the dosage. And the dosage for this syrup would be a tablespoon for adults and a teaspoon for kids. I'll show you how to make a tincture. We are going to use plantain, Plantain lanceolata, for our tincture. And the first thing we do is we sort the plant material that we have collected, get rid of any other bits of grasses or other plants that might have gotten in here that are unwanted. Make sure all the leaves are clean. We had a great rainstorm last night, so it cleaned our plants beautifully for us. What we're going to do is we're going to make a simplest tincture. And the simplest tincture is you stuff a jar full of plant material and then top it up with some vodka. If you want to be more scientific about it, the ratio of plant material, fresh plant material, should be 1 part of plant material to 2 parts of vodka. So we have our jar almost full now, just a little bit more. We want it packed nice and tight of plant material. A tincture is a very concentrated form of medicine, and we want to have a nice strong tincture. So here's our jar, nice and tightly packed full of plantain. And what we'll do is we'll now fill up this jar with vodka right to the very top. The alcohol that you're pouring in will actually be greatly diluted in your final tincture. So it's best if your alcohol has at least 50% ethanol by volume. We'll just squeeze the bubbles out. It's good to, once the jar is full of vodka, it's good to give it a bit of a tap, close it. And in a day or two, check your tincture, because usually there's a little bit more space to top up. The plantain tincture is very, very good. It can be used for several different things. I like to use it when I have a cold. I'll put about between 10 and 20 drops of a tincture into a cup with a little bit of warm water and drink that every 3 or 4 times a day, sometimes 6 times a day if I feel very bad. It's also very good for any cuts that you might have. You might want to dilute it a little bit more, but just using normal vodka, it shouldn't be stinging. The plantain, the properties of plantain will help healing, and it will help prevent any infections that might get into the wounds. So it's a very, very useful preparation. So the last thing we need to do, of course, is put a label. On our label, we write what type of preparation it is. It's a fresh plantain tincture. We write the dosage, which in this case will be anything between 10 and 30 drops for an adult, 3 to 5 times a day, and the date that it was made. We have our label on. What we need to do is let this macerate for at least 2 weeks. Anything up to 6 weeks is just fine. Then strain out the plant material, squeeze out as much liquid as you can, and rebottle the resulting tincture, and you're ready to use it.